Target acquired, Rubis announced as he looked through the scope of his infrared goggles while he clung to the side of a Yakuza's building with a rifle in hand, unseen under his cloaking device. A woman's voice rings through his communicator. "What do you see?" Rubis takes a moment to access the room. The target appears to be sitting down or hunched over, I can't tell, but he's alone. They are alone? That's strange. Do you think it's a trap? You should wait for backup. It's a risky move, but Rubis moves in for the kill anyhow. Busting through the window, he quickly trained his rifle at the head of a bowed old fishman. The old man sits in a way reminiscent of the old Japanese style of sitting. "On your feet! Let's go, up!" Rubis motions to the man with his trained rifle to stand. However, the old man never flinched from what he was doing, kneeled over the ground and prayer hands together. "Pray all you want, but it's over for you, old man. That bounty on your head will carry out whether you're dead or alive." The old man slowly opened his eyes and leered into Rubis. "It is not I whom I am praying for." Rubis looks a little confused in the face, and before he could utter a word, he notices a blue glint in the dark just behind the old man. Suddenly, something blue goes whizzing by Rubis's face, having dodged the attack. The flying object pierces into a wall where it remains. It looks to be a katana pulsing with blue proton energy. Barely recovering from the attack, Rubis aims his rifle into the darkness but finds no one there, not even the old man, yet he feels a presence lingering in the dimly lit room. Rubis goes to Tauntaun. "I expected that one of the Yakuza top dogs would hire their best men, but you're just one person. Don't tell me they all cleared out and left you to do their dirty work. Some hirelings your master found. Piss poor job His words were cut short by another neon blue swipe from the darkness, followed by an onslaught of slashes left and right, lighting up the room with every surging move of its owner's flexing arms. Judging by the light given from the outside and the candles, the figure looks to be an impressive height of 6'7". Stark red eyes cuts through the night and into their quarry. While in strife, a lashing shark tail whips behind the shark. His shoulders stand out broadly, accentuating his muscular frame, while his waist narrows slightly from his shoulders, giving him a muscular yet packed look with power and speed. One of his arms, much like one of his shoulders, is adorned with cyberpunk armor, while the rest of him is dressed in a dress shirt and suspenders. Razor-sharp teeth snap at Rubis's face, determined to chomp it clean off and possibly eat it, and it takes all of Rubis' concentration and energy to keep himself on his toes. One false move, however, and Rubis is out of a weapon as blade meets rifle, disarming Rubis and forcing him to switch fighting tactic to hand-to-hand combat. He manages to dodge a lethal diagonal slash, throwing punches of his own which are met with equal force from the opposer as they block them with the face of their blade, and goes in for a cross slash aimed at Rubis's abdomen. The blade makes contact, cutting clean through the bulletproof armor on top of his hardened hellhound hide. Rubis grits his teeth and held a hand where the red gash was, attempting to stop the bleeding. There was no time for him to take one of the healing injections as he fended off the flurry of blade swipes from his unknown adversary. Every punch and kick was either dodged or blocked and comboed with a well-timed rebound kick to the stomach, sending Rubis reeling backwards. Cursing under his breath, he swiped the blood from his mouth and slowly rose to his feet using his wane legs. The female's voice rings loudly into Rubis's communicator. "Rubis, are you there? What are you doing? Do you need backup?" Rubis scoffs in rejection. "There's no way in hell we're letting that fat bounty get away." "I don't like the situation, Rubis. You're taking way too long than usual and running out of time. Time we don't have to argue." Rubis releases the communicator button and grins as he watches the figure make his way across the room. "You're a tough bastard, aren't you? You're not from around here, that's for sure. What's your name?" The stranger shark says nothing and moves to thrust his katana forward, nearly missing Rubis's kidneys. Rubis hooked around the left and made an attempt to bash the shark in the head with an elbow shot and was quickly swept off his feet by the shark's swift tail. Rubis lands on his back with a heavy thud and groans in pain. The shark looms over Rubis's body and raised his katana to deliver a fatal blow. His attempt is thwarted by a pair of lights that blare into the opening of the window, temporarily blinding the shark. A barrage of gunfire is shot out from a Gatling gun held by a female hellhound who hangs out of the opening of a helicopter. With a roar, she lays into the opening, tearing into the building and granting some cover. Undeterred, the shark deflects every bullet with his katana while advancing towards his new adversary, that being the hellhound. "Rubis, grab on!" she yelled out as she extended her reach to him. Rubis grabbed hold of the female hellhound twin's hand and hoisted himself off the ground before the shark could reach them. The helicopter resumes its turn, but just as it was about face away from the window, something hits the top rotor and puts the helicopter off course and spiraling out of control towards the ground. "Shit, what happened?" the females questioned during the descend. "The rotor's shot! We're going down fast!" Arcus hastily exclaims as he tried to correct the piloting of the crashing helicopter. Meanwhile, the shark looks down from above the torn opening of the white building, watching the black helicopter fall like a baby bird plucked out of the sky by a katana. A glint in the corner of his eyes causes him to lift his head for a split second, just in time to catch the sight of a 50 cal bullet whizzing by his face. The bullet reached a good distance from where he was, a sniper. Sol remains steady regardless of the miss of his target. With his arms rigidly holding his rifle trained on the target, he prepared to fire once more. But before he could pull the trigger, the shark was in front of him, taking a swing at his face with his air-cutting sword. The only thing Sol could see at that moment was the glint of the shark's eyes before the sword sliced down on his arm, cutting it clean through. There was no time to cry out in pain. There was no pain, just blood. Blood that splattered across Sol's shocked face. The narrow miss of the head had cost him his arm, but saved his life. The shark, having just nicked his quarry, halts in his mid-slash pose, watching the sniper roll backwards out of reach before advancing forward, giving little time for recovery. Sol, having just gaining his footing, grabs for his sword and draws it in a blink of an eye to deflect the blow of the shark bearing down on him. The pouring night is dazzled with the brilliant brights of metal clashing together as two fighters battle it out for survival. Another gush of blood splays out into the rain as flesh and bone is disconnected from their joints. The tail and fin of the shark hits the ground with a heavy thud, the ends of the cleanly severed limbs sizzling like roast on a pit. "An eye for an eye, bitch, heh?" Sol huffs, holding at his pouring shoulder. Meanwhile, the spiraling helicopter managed to regain its course due to Arcus hitting the emergency levery that activates the helicopter's secondary rotors that come out on either side of the vehicle. It was a split decision that saved their lives. Once things seemed stable, Wicket loudly exclaimed, "The target got away, Arcus. What are we to do?" "Not quite," Arcus went on as he pulled out a tracking device. "I planted a tracker on car of the target before we began this mission. I feared that something like this would happen, so I planned ahead." "Good going. Where is it headed?" Arcus takes a quick look to the tracker. "Seems like he's headed for the Sholun's temple. He's trying to seek immunity there from us." "Oh no, he won't. After him." The helicopter makes a beeline for its assailant, leaving Sol to deal with their guard dog, that being the katana-wielding shark who would not let up his slashing and strikes of his blade, keeping Sol on his toes. He'd duck just in time as a horizontal angled slash goes for his throat. He yells into his communicator as he spots the jet-black helicopter shoot by. "You guys aren't going to pick me up?" Wicket replies. "We need you to distract their bodyguard while we go after them." Sol couldn't help but laugh at this, or perhaps it was his shock of losing his arm that was making him slightly delirious. "I'm losing a lot of blood here. He cut my freaking arm off." Wicket gasped and released her communicator, looking to Arcus and Rubis for answers. Rubis nodded as he stood up and leaned out of the open door of the helicopter. "I'll go back for him. If we don't make it, make sure the bastards pay." "Rubis, don't say that. Just be careful and bring him back." Rubis said nothing before he would leap out of the helicopter, having landed on a building with a roll.